is the first step to wisdom, and sharing it is the first step to humanity. Wish you all a very pleasant morning. On behalf of Faculty of Commerce, GLS University, and SMP, Ahmedabad branch of WIRC ICAI, I, Dr. Kruti Paritosh, extend a very warm welcome to Dr. Sudhir Nanavati, President, GLS University, Dr. Khushru Panthaki, keynote speaker of the day, CA Aniket Talati, Central Council member, ICAI, CA Harit Dhariwal, Chairman, ICAI Ahmedabad, Dr. Bhalchandra Joshi, Provost, GLS University, Dr. Dharmesh Shah, Registrar, GLS University, CA Dr. Anjali Choksi, Secretary, ICAI Ahmedabad, CA Jatin Kalra, all deans and directors of GLS University, chartered accountants joining across the globe, and all the delegates to the 2 days virtual international colloquium on recent advances in accounting, management, communication, and technology. GLS University, one of the premier universities in the state of Gujarat, has set milestones within a very short journey since its establishment. GLS University has taken a pioneering role by offering programs in several disciplines such as business management, computer technology, commerce, business administration, law, design, research and doctoral studies, and many more. The pandemic has sparked a worldwide shift in today's academic structure, and to take a leap forward, GLS University's Faculty of Commerce, SMPIC, has jointly organized an international colloquium in association with Ahmedabad branch of WIRC ICAI. To start the function on an auspicious note, may I request Dr. Keyur Vora to offer a prayer to Almighty. Dr. Keyur Vora.
जय जय माँ, जय जय माँ, जय जय माँ, जय जय माँ। मेरे मन के अंधकार ज्योतिर्मय उतरो, मेरे मन के अंध तमस में ज्योतिर्मय उतरो। जय जय माँ, 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 जय जय माँ। कहाँ यहाँ देवों का नंदन, कहाँ यहाँ देवों का नंदन, मलयाचल का अभिनव चंदन, मलयाचल का अभिनव चंदन। मेरे उजड़े उर के वन में करुणामय विचरो, मेरे मन के अंध तमस में ज्योतिर्मय उतरो, मेरे मन के अंध तमस में ज्योतिर्मय उतरो। माँ, जय जय 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 माँ। वरदे 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 वीणा वादिनी वरदे, वरदे 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 वीणा वादिनी वरदे, जय जय माँ, जय जय माँ, जय जय माँ, जय जय माँ। निर्मल मन कर दे, प्रेम अतुल कर दे, निर्मल मन कर दे, प्रेम अतुल कर दे, सबकी सदमति हो, ऐसा हमको वर दे, 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 वीणा वादिनी वर दे। जय जय माँ, जय जय माँ, जय जय माँ, जय जय माँ। मेरे मन के अंधतमस में ज्योतिर्मय उतरो, मेरे मन के अंधतमस में ज्योतिर्मय उतरो। जय जय माँ, 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 जय जय माँ।
Thank you, Dr. Keudwara. Now may I request CA Dr. Marzun Jokhi, Dean Faculty of Commerce, GLS University, to deliver welcome address. Dr. CA Marzun Jokhi.
Thank you. It is a glorious moment to extend my warm wishes and a very warm welcome to respected Dr. Sudhir Nanavati, President GLS University, C. Aniket Talati, Central Council Member, ICAI, Woman Superachiever, Dr. Chandni Kapadia, Executive Director, GLS University, Keynote Speaker of the International Colloquium, C.A. Khushru Panthaki Sir, C.A. Jatin Kalra Sir, C.A. Harith Dhariwal, Chairman, ICI Ahmedabad, Provost of GLS University, Dr. B.H. Joshi Sir, Registrar of GLS University, Dr. Dharmesh Shah Sir, C.A. Dr. Anjali Choksi, Secretary, ICAI Ahmedabad, all learned faculty members, industry delegates, research scholars, and students who have joined the International Colloquium across the globe, and dear colleagues. A very warm welcome and good morning to all of you. The International Colloquium schedule, I think, brushes upon a spectrum of exciting and benefiting things that discuss the relevant aspects of accounting, management, innovation, technology, communication, education, and economy. The colloquium provides a unique opportunity for all of us, and because of its scope, it has attracted delegates from all over the world. And I'm very happy to share over here that we have around 175 research papers that are going to be presented in this 2-day international colloquium, virtual international colloquium. The pandemic has given an opportunity for educators to rethink on the approach of learning. It is rightly said that wisdom comes not from age, but from education and learning. And at GLS University, under the visionary leadership of multifaceted and charismatic President, Dr. Sudhir Nanavati sir, we are relatively agile to adapt to what is needed to ensure continuity of learning. The top management at GLS University has always believed that the academic scholars from all disciplines will have to be motivated, guided, and be equipped with all the possible new technologies as their academic courses and programs are being reconfigured and need to adopt to a new, uncertain future. And this is the main reason of organizing the International Colloquium. I am highly grateful to respected President of GLS University, Dr. Sudhir Nanavati sir, and Executive Director of GLS University, Dr. Chandni Kapadia ma'am, for providing us a platform for jointly organizing this international colloquium in collaboration with Ahmedabad branch of WIRC, ICAI. I also express my sincere gratitude to the young and vibrant CA Aniket Talati, CA Harit Dhariwal, CA Anjali Choksi, and Team ICAI Ahmedabad branch for the outstanding support. I would like to thank the keynote speaker, CA Khushru Panthaki sir, for taking out your precious time for making this event success. We are honored, sir, with your presence. I would like to express my heartfelt gratitude to all of you, and specifically to Team SMPIC, who has sincerely committed to this colloquium to make it possible. I once again welcome you all to the virtual international colloquium. I hope, I wish, and I'm sure that the 2 days of academic interface will provide fruitful insight and will be a value addition to our knowledge. Welcome once again. Have a healthy brainstorming academic session. Thank you so much.
If your actions inspire others to dream more, learn more, do more, and become more, you are a leader. This quote very well personifies the able and visionary leader, President of GLS University, Dr. Sudhir Nanavati. He firmly believes to provide an ideal and creative teaching learning environment for the teachers and the students at the university. Dr. Sudhir Nanavati is a senior counsel practicing in the Apex Court of India, including the Supreme Court of India. He is also a member of Supreme Court Bar Association and International Law Association. He is a recipient of prestigious awards and recognitions at the international level. Dr. Sudhir Nanavati is a brand ambassador Gujarat Mission under Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, an initiative by Honorable Prime Minister of India, Shri Narendra Bhai Modi. We are happy to have his omnipresence in today's international colloquium. May I now invite multifaceted and magnificent Dr. Sudhir Nanavati sir for the presidential address. Dr. Sudhir Nanavati.
Thank you, Kruti. Very good morning to all joining this international colloquium from across the globe. As the president of GLS University, I am very happy to note that prestigious academic establishment of ICAI has joined the hands with GLS University for organizing this 2 days international colloquium. It would have been more enjoyable and effective if the prevailing situation would have permitted such an important event offline and would have given us opportunity in meeting with the members of academic fraternity who are otherwise here on this virtual platform today. GLS University has always created a conducive research atmosphere at the campus through the constant support, encouragement, and various schemes to motivate the faculty as well as students to get inclined towards the research. This international colloquium is the result of the same philosophy and unending endeavor of GLS University to serve the academic arena as well as the society through research and innovation. At this juncture, I also take note of long-standing relations with ICAI Gujarat branch and feel proud about the only Gujarati chartered accountant and a very close family friend, Mr. Sunil Talati, has occupied the highest chair as a president of ICAI. Knowing him very closely, a very hardworking, professional, and ready to contribute in supporting young generation entering into a very hard and competitive chartered accountancy course. I have been told by many other CAs, even from outside Gujarat, that he was one of the most hardworking and finest president of ICAI. Henry Ford said, and I hereby quote, anyone who stops learning is old, whether at 20 or 80. Anyone who keeps learning stays young. I'm really happy to note that the topic of this international colloquium is quite relevant to the current situation. The topic, recent advances in accounting, management, communication, and technology, caters to the requirement of multidimensional analysis to various academic as well as applied disciplines. The world has been facing a crisis in the form of COVID-19. However, digital connectivity has been a lifeline during these times by changing the ways of working, communicating, and living. New issues in the field of accounting, management, communication, and technology have risen and new solutions have been found. Learning is a continuous process, and developing new approach towards the existing knowledge is the essence of the quality research. Innovative solutions to new and existing issues are only possible when there is an eagerness to question and hunger to obtain continuous knowledge. I truly believe that collaboration with Institute of Chartered Accountant of India shall be greatly beneficial to the overall outcome of this colloquium. I am sure that all of you who are participating in these 2 days international colloquium will have a great learning experience, as today we have with us CA Khushru Pantaki, a very learned and experienced person, as the keynote speaker. I am pleased to share that hundreds of academicians, research scholars, industry professionals, and students from India and abroad have registered as delegates for this colloquium. Before I conclude, I congratulate Team ICAI, CA Aniket Talati, CA Harit Dhariwal, and Dean Faculty of Commerce, SNTIC, Dr. Mazroon Jockey and his team for jointly organizing virtual international colloquium. I am sure that discussions during this colloquium shall not remain only a formality, but will be a fruitful for the betterment of the society. Thank you and have a great day ahead. Be safe and stay blessed.
Thank you, sir, for your words of wisdom. A man of refined thought process, quick understanding, and sharp vision, CA Aniket Sunil Talati is a Central Council member of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, working actively for the profession for over a decade. He was elected to the Western India Regional Council, ICAI. He has served as the youngest ever chairman of Ahmedabad branch for the year 2014-15 and as secretary WIRC for the year 2017 and 18. Profusely interested in the brand India CA, that is Indian CA, and ICAI in India and abroad, he has always loved to act as a bridge between the stakeholders and the institute. CA Aniket Talati is a man of grassroots understanding of the matters and respected for his down-to-earth approach to the issues at hand among his professional colleagues. He heads the consulting vertical of his firm, Talati and Talati LLP Chartered Accountants, one of the largest firms of Gujarat. Now, may I invite vibrant Central Council member of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, CA Aniket Talati, to deliver the plenary. Aniket Talati.
Thank you so much, Krutiben. Most respected Dr. Sudhir Bhai Nanavati, I think very rightly introduced by Krutiben as someone who is deeply interested in spreading the knowledge spreading education and making sure it reaches, I think, not just four corners of Ahmedabad, Gujarat, India, but today through this international colloquium, it is reaching all corners of the world. You rightly said, Krutiben, that he inspires through his omnipresence. In fact, let me most humbly also say that even in his absence, we are privileged that the office that one is sitting in and professionally working from was once used by Sudhir Bhai and the entire firm. So even in his absence, there is always an inspiration for us to be in those chambers where, of course, Sudhir Bhai was there and the entire firm flourished. I'm extremely thankful to the entire team of GLS University, Dr. Chandni Ben, Dr. Marzun Jorki, and all other faculty members, dean, registrar, everybody else who's joined us. Kushru, just a note, I think generally when we go for seminars or programs or any virtual conferences, we say we are chartered accountants and we feel probably as a speaker, we'll be one step ahead of the rest. But today, if you look at all the participants besides us are all doctorates and PhDs. So today is a rare day that we are feeling probably the less learned. And therefore, I think very important what Sudhir sir mentioned in the beginning, that for all of us to stay young, not just in age, but at heart, it is very important to continue the journey of education. And therefore, Kushru Bhai, let's also consider maybe at some point following this tradition and taking up maybe doctorate in the future. I'm sure you have wonderful experience in accounting, Ind AS, IFRS, and maybe one can also take up any of these topics to take the opportunity to pursue this course. Having said that, let me share with all the participants today, it's a matter of great coincidence that while we are launching this great partnership between ICAI and GLS, two very important brands in the field of education, and especially SMP in the field of commerce. We at the ICAI today are also having our international conference for CA students. It could not have been a more coincidence that both these events are kicking off on the same day. And let me share with you that at ICAI also today, I'm in Kolkata and addressing and speaking to all of you from here. We have participation from over 7,000 CA students in the International Student Conference also. And Sudhir sir, it is a matter of great pride for me to share with you that the CA course is now truly international. You would have seen over the past 7 decades that our presence in India as practicing chartered accountants was always recognized. But today, sir, we are present in more than 73 cities of the world with 44 foreign chapters and 29 representative offices, which span across 47 different countries. So our chartered accountants have not only taken the qualification and excelled in industry or in practice in India, but they have spread their wings to all these various jurisdictions of over 50 countries. And what that has enabled for us to do is to take this course curriculum also global. And now we are looking at entirely revisiting our CA curriculum, sir, to make it an international course curriculum, which will be the profession of choice and the course of choice for any person pursuing pursuing in the field of commerce. Sir, the institute is revisiting the entire course. We are making sure that it is relevant with the times. And I think it is in that earnest that I'm extremely happy to see that the topic that has been set for this 2-day virtual international colloquium is not just restricted to advancements in accounting, but talks about 3 very important aspects which any commerce student or a chartered accountant pursuing student has to also focus on in this new generation: on management, on the communication, and on technology. So there was a time when calculators came and everybody said, well, the accounting profession, what is going to be the future? It in fact added and aided commerce as a field and gave us so many various opportunities. Then computers came, the accounting packages came, and again people said, will accounting be the same ever again? Because end of the day, what is debit will remain debit and what is credit will remain credit. And we only have double entry accounting. So what will be the use of commerce graduates or chartered accountants? And in fact, after the advent of computers, it has gone and multiplied, and the requirement and demand of chartered accountants today or even commerce graduates is far higher than what the supply, either the institute or GLS University or any other education body can provide. And to all the students who are participating, let me tell you and assure you that with technology taking this third generation leap, with AI, that is artificial intelligence, we call it the ABCD in our parlance. A for artificial intelligence, B for blockchain, C for cybersecurity, and D for data analysis. This new ABCD, which is changing the entire accounting domain. With this, the opportunities are going to, in fact, increase manyfold. Because now, as commerce specialists or graduates or as chartered accountants, we are not doing what was manually required for us to do. A lot of these activities will be taken over by artificial intelligence and machine learning. But our management skills, our communication skills, and our understanding of technology, which are the themes of this international colloquium, is going to ensure that we still are able to dominate this field where we have huge competition from various streams of science and other areas. But I'm extremely confident that through international colloquiums like this, and more importantly, through this wonderful partnership that has been, I think, taken up due to the rigorous efforts of Joki sir, Harit bhai, and the entire team along with Anjali Ben, I am sure it is going to reap great results, not just for the city of Ahmedabad or the state of Gujarat, but for the commerce stream as a whole. And students across the globe will be greatly benefited by this unique partnership. I once again thank Sudhir bhai and the entire team of GLS University for giving us this opportunity to come together. And sir, I'm sure there are various opportunities that we can jointly explore to ensure that this 2 days virtual international colloquium is only a beginning and a first step, and various other initiatives can be taken up under your leadership. I wish all the participants all the very best. And once again, thank Sudhir bhai and of course our faculty for today, Khushru bhai, for sparing the time and making this event possible. Thank you very much.
Thank you, CA Aniket Talati, for your insightful plenary address. We are fortunate to have Dr. Chandni Kapadia, Executive Director, GLS University, with us. Dr. Chandni Kapadia has been conferred with the prestigious World Women Leadership Congress Award. She is also the recipient of Iconic Women Creating a Better World for All by the World Economic Forum, Black Swan Award for Women Entrepreneur and Women Empowerment by Asia One, and the CEO of the Year Award by Indian Achievers Forum in the year 2020. We are happy to inform that she has been listed in top 10 women entrepreneurs by India by Forbes. May I request charismatic achiever, Executive Director, GLS University, Dr. Chandni Kapadia, to deliver the plenary address.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Respected Dr. Sudhir Nanavati, sir, President, GLS University, CA Aniket Talati, Central Council member, ICAI, Delhi, CA Harit Dhariwal, Chairman, ICAI, Ahmedabad, and the keynote speaker for the day, CA Khushru Panthaki. A very cheerful Saturday morning to all of you, and a warm welcome on the school day, hopefully which will last longer, to you on this international colloquium. Due to the current difficult situation, we have to meet through this virtual platform, but looking at the brighter side, hopefully we shall all be able to meet offline in the very near future. And of course, till then, we shall continue sharing knowledge on these platforms. Like Sudhir sir said, and like Aniket bhai said, nothing is permanent. We have to keep changing. Things change, you know, like you said, commerce changes, science changes. So nothing is permanent except change. So hopefully we will have the change back to offline soon. Gujarat Law Society and GLS University need no introduction. Yet I wish to say a few words for the benefit of the people and the students who have joined here and of course are new. Gujarat Law Society, the parent body of GLS University, was established in the year 1927 and is one of the largest and oldest educational institutions in the state of Gujarat. Gujarat, GLS was promoted by illuminaries like Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, Sri Ganesh Mavlankar, the first speaker of the country, and Sri I.M. Nanavati with the vision of excellence in education. Today, GLS University is headed by its president, Dr. Sudhir Bhai Nanavati, which provides an ideal and creative learning environment and continuing the tradition of excellence in education of the sponsoring body of the university, that is Gujarat Law Society. Our university imparts quality education through various innovative programs in diverse areas. Currently, GLS has more than 25,000 students pursuing their graduate, postgraduate, doctoral level studies and has over 1 million alumni, all established in several spheres of work. GLS University has always been keen to promote quality-based research, expand knowledge, develop values, and provide an environment conducive for developing a healthy research culture. Our vision is to build a vibrant research culture by assisting and enhancing research processes by faculty members and students from various disciplines. I'm delighted that a reputed academic establishment like Ahmedabad Branch, Western India Region Council of AICAI has joined hands with us in organizing this virtual international colloquium in which delegates from India, US, Canada, Singapore, Dubai, Sri Lanka, and various other countries have participated and have contributed to learning. Benjamin Franklin said, and I hereby quote, "Tell me, and I shall forget. Teach me, and I may remember. Involve me, and I will learn." There is no doubt that this international colloquium is a great way to bring together leading academicians, professionals, research scholars, and students where they can exchange and share their experiences and research results on all aspects of accounting, management, communication, and technology areas. I also find that it's easy to get so caught up in the daily grind that you lose your motivation or excitement for your job or interests. Hence, this intensive study this colloquium will provide you is a chance to get away from everything and dedicate yourself to the topic for a few days. I am certain that at the end of this colloquium, you will find your enthusiasm rekindled, which will lead to a greater fulfillment of your professional and academic goals. Lastly, I heartily congratulate Team ICAI Ahmedabad and Dean Faculty of Commerce, GLS University, Dr. Marzoon Joki, and his entire team for taking up this commendable venture. I wish all the success to this great initiative, and I'm sure the outcome of the deliberations during this colloquium shall not only be beneficial to the academic world, but also the professional world. Thank you. Have a great day. And of course, stay safe.
Thank you, ma'am, for the mesmerizing plenary address. CA Harit Dhariwal, Chairman ICAI Ahmedabad, is having more than 14 years of experience in statutory and internal audits, taxation, treasury and risk management, company law advisory, and project finance. CA Harit Dhariwal is a regular speaker at various professional forums and have delivered lectures at various study circles and branches of ICAI. May I now request CA Harit Dhariwal, Chairman, ICAI Ahmedabad, to deliver his plenary address. CA Harit Dhariwal.
Thank you, Dr. Kruti ma'am. Respected President of GLS University, Dr. Sudhir Nanavati sir, our Central Council member, CA Aniket Talati, keynote speakers for today's inaugural session, CA Khushru Panthaki and CA Jatin Kalra, Dr. Chandni Kapadia, Executive Director of GLS University, Dr. Dharmesh Shah, Registrar of GLS University, conveners of this conference, CA Dr. Marzoon Joki sir, CA Dr. Anjali Choksi, other dignitaries, paper presenters, and all the delegates who have joined us for this wonderful two-day international colloquium. A very good morning to all of you. It's an absolute honor and privilege for us at Ahmedabad branch to be associated with the GLS University Faculty of Commerce for this international colloquium on recent advances in accounting, management, communication, and technology. The themes for presenting The research papers are very apt, including the latest development in the field of accounting and finance, management and entrepreneurship, innovation and technology, communication and language, and even implications of pandemic on economy and education. Friends, emerging technologies are transforming the way everyday work of accountants, impacting the professional life of millions around the world. This phenomenon is more and more evident with the increasing speed of technological innovations. Changes have been caused by several factors, including rapid technology developments, more globalization, easily facilitated communication via the internet, and legislative and regulatory changes. Very happy to see that as far as the technology is concerned, topics like big data analysis, cloud computing, blockchain technology are also covered. Blockchain technology, for example, will require an entire new generation of accountants with the skills to operate in the new blockchain environment. Accountants' role will change after blockchain implementation, and internal control will be maintained, although its focus might be changed. Similarly, topics pertaining to entrepreneurship, business ethics, values, startups, cryptocurrencies, digital banking, forensics are all very relevant in current times, and discussions on these would definitely be a great value add to all the attendees. In today's world, the importance of communication can never be undermined. It has now become fundamental to the existence and survival of humans as well as organizations. Whether it's a face-to-face communication or communication via digital means, communicating effectively should be our focus always. Accountants have always been open to adopting new technologies and newer challenges. We all must be prepared to face abundant of changes in the coming years, and all these changes can be disruptive, but at the same time open up with many potential opportunities for all of us in the profession. Friends, the theme of Ahmedabad branch for this year revolves around four letters that we are also proud of: ICAI: ideation, collaboration, adaptability, and innovation. We are so happy that Marzoon Joki sir came with us with this idea of creating this conference. We collaborated with the GLS University to come up with this innovative conference, which will help all of us adapt to this ever-changing world. My special thanks and gratitude to CA Khushru Pantaki sir for spending his valuable time today as keynote speaker, and also very happy to have CA Jatin Kalra sir, who is going to take the global accounting side. Thank you so much.
Thank you, CA Harit Tariwal, for inspiring this meeting of minds. Now, may I request Dr. Bimal Solanki to introduce the keynote speaker of the International Colloquium, CA Khushru Panthaki sir. May I invite Dr. Bimal Solanki?
Thank you, Dr. Krutisha. We have with us CA Khushru Panthaki as a keynote speaker for today's international colloquium organized by GLS University and ICAI. Shri Khushru Panthaki is a fellow chartered accountant with 37 years of professional experience in accounting, auditing, and financial services. He has graduated from Sydenham College of Commerce in Bombay. He has a diploma in insurance industry from Darden Business School, Virginia. He is an eminent speaker and has presented technical papers in India, Singapore, Hong Kong, UK, and USA. He is a visiting faculty at various training institutes and management institutes across India. He is a very active member of ICAI and has represented ICAI at regional committees for accounting standards, auditing and assurance standards, etc. He is a part of Independent Advisory Board of Studies at the Narsi Monji Institute of Management Studies, Mumbai. We are you, CA Khushru Panthaki sir, and I thank you, sir, for accepting our invite for keynote address to this August gathering virtually.
Thank you, sir. Can I start? A very good morning to all of you. And at the outset, I would like to thank everybody over here who are the organizers of this virtual international colloquium for giving me this opportunity to address, along with one of my colleagues, Jatin Kalra. At the outset, I would like to mention that the speeches that have been given by Dr. Sudhir Nanavati, by our young Aniket Talati, and others have been truly inspiring and have really set the context insofar as this particular international colloquium is concerned. With my experience of many, many years, I have seen that the accounting world and the auditing world has significantly changed over a period of time. And I'll be very, very honest about the fact that there was a time when we used to be working only with 15 accounting standards, and they were very different from the international accounting standards. There were very few auditing standards and people did not even have a grip on the auditing standards. And this entire shift over the last 10 to 15 years in India, on account of the changes that have happened globally, is significantly attributed to the sincere and very hard work of many, many committees of the ICAI, who have brought in a lot of these changes which have now been implemented. As you would have seen and observed over a long period of time, Ind AS is now the new accounting framework where India is concerned. It is not the IFRS, but definitely it is a good portion of the IFRS with some carve-outs, which we all are aware of. Auditing standards in India are also very much similar to the international auditing standards. And the reason why we had to go for this particular change in the framework was that there is a lot of importance given to India in the overall scheme of global things. People have to start respecting our financial reporting framework. There are international investors who want to come and invest into India. And they keep on having these, being a professional myself, they keep on having this particular question that how do we trust and how do we rely on the financial statements in India? How do we believe that they are with international principles? And therefore, these accounting frameworks now, whether IFRS or Ind AS, etc., have been able to meet those requirements significantly. And therefore, their concerns have been addressed to a great extent. What I propose to cover over the next 12 minutes, and of course, we'll hand it over to my colleague Jatin a little later, would be a sea change that has come in the accounting and the auditing world. And I would focus mostly on the auditing part of it, being an auditor myself over the last 37 years. That gone are the days when we used to sit down with a paper and a pen, start writing the queries, start ticking the numbers into the ledgers, and keep on doing a manual work. I think enough emphasis has been made by Aniket and many, many others on a technology-driven audit. And this is something which is the future and which is the current as well. As you would have seen that the transactions in most of the organizations have been running in millions and crores, I would say. I mean, whether you look at a banking transaction or you look at insurance or whether you look at mutual funds or even some of the large size companies. Today, India is reputed to produce global conglomerates. There was a time when there used to be global conglomerates coming into India and investing. Now it's a time where Indian conglomerates are going and investing internationally. And therefore, it requires the best of the risk management framework and the best of accounting standards and the auditing standards to be deployed by the management and the auditors respectively. And therefore, I think it is a need of the hour that technology should be the backbone of the auditing environment. And this is how it has started to shape up over the next few years, that you would see a lot of things being driven by technology. Let me speak a little bit about the data analytics, which is a very, very important tool. And I think in his analysis of A, B, C, and D, Aniket did touch upon the data analytics. Data analytics is a very, very important tool when it comes to auditing, because as I mentioned earlier, it is not just to give a reasonable assurance, and of course, the duty of the auditors is to give a reasonable assurance, but the stakeholders globally have been asking for a higher level of assurance. These days, when it comes to the auditing field, people have got that particular mindset that in the chain of events where there are multiple transactions, complex transactions, unusual transactions, how do you identify an outlier? What is it that is being required to be done in order to make sure that there will be a higher level of assurance to the shareholders and to those charged with governance? And therefore, this is very, very important for us to give that higher level of assurance to all those which are charged with governance. So there are certain tools, there are certain data analytic tools, and this will provide a very high level of assurance to the investors and to those charged with governance. Because the data analytics ultimately will not only analyze some of the patterns, deviations, and inconsistencies, but also will be in a position to extract some information and throw out some outliers through some of the analysis, which also includes modeling and visualization for the purposes of planning and performing an audit. And therefore, it is extremely important that the audit team now onwards should be having technology experts who not only will be in a position to carry out an audit under an IT environment or a ITGC audit, but at the same time be in a position to scale up to deploy the data analytic tools to give a higher level of assurance. Despite all the higher level of assurances that it can provide, ultimately what is important from an individual perspective is that there has to be an element of judgment when it comes to the audit team. And the audit team and the audit partner is supposed to exercise that particular judgment when it comes to exceptions being thrown, how those exceptions have been analyzed, how those exceptions have been taken into consideration, and how they have been resolved. And come what may, whatever can be the degree of technology being applied in an audit, unless and until there is an element of good judgment of the auditor, which comes out of professional skepticism, no audit would be successful. And therefore, data analytics tool will definitely enhance efficiency and bring in more effectiveness in the audit. The other advantage of this particular tool is that it can be repeatedly used, because once you prepare certain data analytics tests, you may be in a position to use them a multiple number of times, and therefore it can only be focusing thereafter on exceptions, and you analyze those exceptions. So you have a particular risk management framework. Now you need to evaluate that particular risk management framework, and you are in a position to carry out the audit and to assess the risk of material misstatement. Because it is simply not possible that in an environment where you have lakhs and crores of transactions, that you pick up a sample of 40 or 50 or 100 or 500 or 1,000. You need to check the entire population. And for that, it is important that your team will be scaled up with people having those skills. But I just go one step ahead. I mean, I come with a very, very traditional background of having audited in a very manual environment, and now being an audit partner on some of the clients which are highly computerized or highly mechanized. And how do you take this particular shift? The only thing that I can say to my young professionals over here would be that keep changing with times and keep evolving with times. Because what happens is that if at all we will not be in a position to do that, we will definitely become obsolete, and we may not be in a position to carry out a quality audit. So change with times, embrace with the new regulations, embrace with the new technology, understand what it is. And I think Institute of Chartered Accountants of India and many other institutions have been playing a significant role in ensuring that the levels of knowledge and awareness is inbuilt into the young budding ICAI professionals who would be into this auditing environment. The other hint I would like to give you over here is that people believe that accounting and an auditing world is a very, very boring field. I would like to be in the field of corporate finance. I would like to be in the field of mergers and amalgamations. But friends, unless and until you have a very deep knowledge of accounting, deep knowledge of technology underlying accounting and auditing, you may not be in a position to really transform into a great corporate finance professional or an M&A professional. And therefore, it's extremely important for you to have those basic standards of awareness of accounting and auditing. Coming back to data analytics, I think there are many other tools within the data analytics which can communicate with each other. At the same time, what happens is, like, if at all you deploy those tools on the audit, you are in a position to reduce your email traffic, and you can really make a lot of progress remotely. As you know, most of the audits over the last couple of years by you all, where you are involved as an auditor, have been done virtually. And that virtual audit is successful only when you have high standards of technology. The other thing that data analytics normally brings on the table is your minimization of blind spots. So if at all there are certain blind spots which could not be detected by a manual audit, by an audit which takes a little reasonable level of IT skills, I think these blind spots can be really well identified by the data analytics. It also reduces human error to a considerable extent because of the fact that the entire technology is automatically driven, and therefore the chances of a human error reduces to a great extent. And finally, you tend to work smarter because ultimately audit not only has to be effective, audit has to be efficient. It needs to be profitable for organizations and firms. And therefore, if at all you start investing into this kind of technology once and for all, it can be recouped or it can be repaid over a period of time where your systems and processes can become more and more efficient. So this was a little bit about scaling up, because I thought that talking about Caro or talking about new standards of auditing may not be very fruitful. The important point over here that I wanted to drive is that start embracing technology when it comes into the audit field. The other thing which I believe is very, very important under the current environment is having experts as part of your audit team. And one of the experts that I would like to touch upon, besides IT technology and artificial intelligence I spoke about, is a valuation expert. Institute also has got courses on valuation where people have been able to sort of become valuation professionals. But now under the Ind AS, as you all know, financial statements have increased risks. There are significant involvements of fair valuations, and therefore you need to have experts who can actually sort of certify the fair values of the financial instruments which are forming part of your financial statements. In addition to that, of course, there is an impairment of inventory. There are certain impairments of assets. There are some business combinations, share-based payments, where you will consistently require an expert from a valuation perspective. And therefore, that particular expert would be best placed to give you that particular comfort. Most of the time, it is important that those experts have to be there within the firm. In the event that you would not have that particular expertise, then you are required to seek that expertise or outsource that particular expertise from a professional who will be able to work along with you. Valuations do not have got very strict standards. It's a very, very scientific approach to value a particular instrument or a particular asset, and therefore a lot of judgment and decision making is involved in terms of the assumptions. So as an auditor, what is important over here is that although to a great extent you may rely upon the work of an expert, but the underlying assumptions, the limiting conditions, the information quality provided to the valuation specialist, those need to be evaluated by the core audit team to make sure that ultimately it leads into a better valuation and an appropriate valuation. And therefore, it is extremely important for you all to ensure that you have these experts within the team. Given the fact that internationally, normally you would see that the audit reports are running into just 1 page or 1.5 pages. In India, it's a very, very different concept. Your audit reports run into 8 to 10 pages. I mean, if you look at the report of a bank, whether a private bank or a public sector bank, you would see that the audit report can run into 15 to 16 pages, which includes consolidated financial statements as well. And therefore, in India, we have an additional, just for the information of our international friends over here, in India, you have a very, very important element of reporting as an annexure, what we call the company's auditor's report order, which is basically reporting on specific requirements which have been laid down under the Companies Act, where the auditor is required to give his opinion on whether those particular conditions are fulfilled or those specific requirements are met. This is not the case internationally, but it is very much in India, and that continues right from 1980s, and it still continues. Of course, the company's auditor's report order keeps evolving over a period of time, but the requirements are still there. And there are more and more responsibilities being entrusted upon the auditor to make those reportings in a specific manner. In addition to that, India has also embraced the integrated audit approach, whereby the auditors are required to report on internal controls over financial reporting, which is another annexure to the audit report. In addition to that, of course, an auditor is required to significantly assess the risk of frauds in a particular environment in which the company operates. And this is something where I would like to just spend one last minute, that the fraud risk assessment, which has seen a very, very important position within the entire global framework of audit, now requires to be very, very clearly reviewed from an India standpoint as well, because in many organizations, you would have seen that the frauds are perpetrated in a very, I would say, sophisticated manner, in a manner whereby an auditor who would not have a special eye, who would not apply the highest level of professional skepticism, or who may not have the best audit methodology, where such frauds can be not identified, they can be going below the carpet, and one fine day the bubble will burst and the entire organization goes for a toss, and the audit firm goes through a lot of scrutiny from the regulators. And it's very, very important as part of the audit engagement team that wherever required, you have some forensic experts, or wherever required, you have the skill sets to have ensured that the fraud risks are completely reviewed by the auditors. And at the same time, the assessment of the fraud risks, the kind of probability that to what extent the frauds can be perpetrated into an organization needs to be evaluated. Certain procedures need to be carried out, involvement of experts required to be there, and accordingly, inquiries with the management and those charged with governance is also very important to ensure that the fraud risks are minimized or mitigated to a great extent. So given the time constraint, I just thought that I will touch upon some of the important tools, technology, and some of the important global risks which now are applicable for auditing in India as well. And with this, I conclude my part of this particular keynote address and hand it over to someone who can give the baton to my colleague Jatin Kalra. Thank you.
Thank you, Panthaki sir, for your insightful keynote address. Now I invite CA Anjali Choksi ma'am to introduce the second keynote speaker of the day, CA Jatin Kalra sir. Over to you, Anjali ma'am.
Thank you, Dr. Bimal Solanki. A very warm morning to each one of you. I also acknowledge the presence of CA Sunil Talati, the past president of ICAI. It's a pleasure to introduce CA Jatin Kalra, a fellow member of ACCA UK, working as a director in the Financial Reporting Advisory Services of Grant Thornton Bharat LLP. Extensive experience of more than a decade in the area of providing accounting advisory and assurance services to clients, like transition to IFRS, US GAAP, implementation of new accounting standards, process optimization, and many more. He also has an experience of working on cross-border engagements and has worked in UK, South Africa, Germany, and UAE on accounting advisory engagements. He also works in various industries like manufacturing, healthcare, financial services, SEBI. He is also a regular speaker on INDS and has been invited to the INDS Implementation Committee and Exposure Draft Committee of WRC of ICAI. He has also contributed to ICAI Committee on Public and Government Financial Management. It's really a pleasure and glad to have you, Jatin sir, with us. And I would request you to take the session ahead.
Thanks very much, Dr. Choksi. Very good morning to everyone. Like Khushru was mentioning, there are a lot of recent updates in accounting and auditing standards. They're coming from multiple channels. One, of course, is the ever-developing world. There's a lot of technology, there's a lot of complexity, the size of organizations are going bigger. And of course, with that change, auditing and accounting has changed. There needs to be new tools and techniques which needs to come in. But I'll talk about the second aspect of the whole evolution, which is the environmental, social, governance related aspects which has taken prominence. You would be interested to know, recently in the United Nations Climate Change Conference, which happened last year, one of the biggest themes was how investors are reacting to their social responsibilities. And that, of course, has taken prominence over the years. A lot more people are more aware about these things. There's a lot of reputational risk. There's a lot of even, damage to shareholder value, which can happen in case people are not cognizant of how aware their organizations are, what kind of impact they're having on the overall society. And this has also now started affecting how people are reporting and how auditors are auditing, the companies and the financial reports which are getting generated. And the fallout of this, of course, is that globally, ESG, environmental, social, and governance standards have become, the next big thing. That's something which now a lot of listed companies, large corporations are investing into, and a lot of regulators are also looking into on how to standardize and make sure that the right information is being generated and reported by such organizations. The same thing then, of course, has to be followed by India. The reason for that, of course, is that when we look at sustainability, a lot of investing and fund utilization now happens keeping that in mind. There are $1.25 trillion of sustainability funds as of September 2020. And the number grows quite rapidly. I mean, this number also has grown over the very recent years. There's a 35% growth rate, compounded annual growth rate, on the money which is in sustainability funds. And the money which is in such funds would get invested only in organizations which are aware and responsible on their environmental, social, and governance aspects. Out of this, this major amount of money, which is new money, which is being invested, only 0.05% of such sustainability funds are currently in India. So it's high time for Indian corporates and Indian regulators to be aware that there's a paradigm shift in how investing has been happening. The focus is not just on value creation at all cost. The focus now is a more, elaborate cognizance around roles and responsibilities within the wider society. And of course, all of these things have an impact on shareholder value also. As you would have seen, some negative publicity around, let's say, employee engagement or discriminatory practices or environmental impact creates a very damaging impact on the company and the shareholder value. And therefore, there's a financial, reason for doing this change, while the other reasons also stand. And therefore, what SEBI has done very recently is that it has completely overhauled the requirements which listed companies, and they're talking about just the top 1,000 listed companies at this moment, the requirements that they have in terms of reporting information around environmental, social, and governance metrics. When we talk about environment, of course, things like, what's the carbon footprint, what kind of energy utilization is happening, whether the energy is being generated through renewable or non-renewable sources, what kind of water discharge is happening, metrics like that. When we talk about social metrics, it's about gender diversity in terms of employees. It's about median wages. It's about wage gaps. It's about any discriminatory practices which might be there in terms of people with differently able people and all of that thing. And of course, then it's about governance, the role of board, the role of independence within the board, and how effectively governance practices are being implemented at a particular company. So there are a lot more metrics which SEBI is going to require from next year onwards. It's voluntary for this year and mandatory for next year. And the top 1,000 companies then need to gear up to have this additional reporting requirement, which of course would have a great impact in terms of what kind of fund flows happen in such companies, especially from international avenues. Auditors, accountants obviously have a very big role to play. Whether the right data is getting captured for providing such reporting, whether it's accurate, whether it needs to be audited, of course, to make sure that they they can be relied upon, they can be reported by the independent directors and relied upon by the wider community. And this, of course, is something which is going to be the theme for the next 5 to 10 years, because the requirements are going to get more and more strict as we go along. Currently, SEBI has also categorized their requirements into two buckets, one being mandatory, things which are necessarily required. So for example, how much energy is being used is a mandatory requirement. But then there are certain things which are optional requirements, which are that if you want to be at the highest standards, that you should report, but it's not mandatory report. So when we talk about energy, how much of it is from renewable versus non-renewable sources is something which is a recommended, but not mandatory for companies to do. And of course, it's going to get more and more complex, more and more, the threshold is going to be higher and higher in terms of what quality do you report. So it's going to be a relatively medium to long-term thing as we go along on this journey. So ESG definitely is something which has captured a lot of imagination and requires thinking by young professionals and practitioners in the industry. Secondly, what I would also want to talk about is how regulators are changing in terms of their requirements, changing themes from ESG to now governance. SEBI, of course, has been really active in terms of making sure that they are up to the mark when it comes to the global norms. Debt-listed companies, the whole debt market is something which has grown in prominence. It's something which is a recent phenomena for Indian markets. It used to be all equity, but now debt, of course, is becoming more and more prevalent. And for debt-listed companies, requirements used to be significantly lower than equity-listed companies earlier, but now they're coming to the same level. For example, from this year onwards, debt-listed company have to do quarterly reporting. That's a new SEBI requirement. Additionally, it's also necessary for them to give their balance sheets and fund flow statements at 6-monthly basis. So there's a lot more requirement when we talk about debt-listed companies. The period in which they have to report also is something which is being made more and more strict. There are additional disclosures which needs to be given, ratios like current ratio, your bad debt to AR ratio, operating margin, net profit margin. All of these ratios also needs to be calculated and reported. The whole emphasis, therefore, is that, especially with the recent, some of the recent events which happened on listed debt, defaults and all, that this is an area which SEBI has identified as, requiring upgrades and stricter regulation. And that's something which is, again, a theme which has come in. Secondly, of course, when we talk about regulations in the financial services industry, RBI has been extremely active. The underlying theme has been to again come up to global levels when it comes to financial reporting standards or regulatory standards, apply the strictest Basel norms which are there globally, apply the accounting standards which are being utilized globally, and RBI is taking action on that front. For example, just 10 days back, they came up with a discussion paper requiring global norms, global standards to be applied when it comes to investments. So they've completely revamped the prudential norms on investments. When you talk about accounting, valuations, disclosures around investments, they're completely revamped rules now. Much more complex for banks to apply them. To give you a couple of examples, considering the paucity of time, just to share that perspective. So for example, all equity investments, now banks would have to do quarterly fair valuation of that. And when we are talking about unquoted equity, of course, it's a complex thing to do. So banks would need to get geared up to apply the global standards. RBI, of course, is very focused and serious on it. And it's not going to stop. This is again something which you can expect changes coming in the next 2 or 3 years. It's investments today, but there are still gaps when you talk about provisioning specifically, credit loss provisioning. We are still not at an international standard on that. The RBI plan has been a bit delayed in terms of conversion to that because of the recent events and the whole capital requirements which come because of it. But you would expect, as things get more and more normal on the pandemic side, RBI also, cranking it up to make sure that the international norms over there also gets effective for Indian corporates, Indian banks. So those are some of the larger themes that we want to talk about. ESG, regulation on debt-listed companies, RBI, cranking it up on financial service industry. And of course, all of these things change the traditional way of accounting and auditing. That's something which, of course, is all the themes of updates in India, of course, are coming from global events. And it's just that there's some time lag generally between how things change in globally versus in India. But now more and more what we're seeing is the time lag is coming smaller. So for example, something like ESG, UK has made it applicable for this year on a comply or explain basis. So either you have to comply to those standards or you have to explain why you haven't complied to it. And SEBI has done it from next year. So there's hardly any time gap between developed countries and India when it comes to applying the best practices on reporting, accounting, and auditing. So a lot of interesting aspects, a lot of things to keep track on and make sure that we are all updated with respect to that. And of course, a lot of value then that can be added to organizations and ensuring that our Indian corporates are up to the mark when it comes to attracting foreign capital, foreign investors, and making sure that they are there in terms of their reporting and accounting requirements. With that, I'll hand it over. It was a pleasure speaking to all of you and addressing you on this subject. Thank you.
Thank you, CA Jatin Kalra, sir. Now, I invite CA Dr. Sneha Master to propose a vote of thanks. Over to you, Sneha ma'am.
Thank you so much, sir. A warm and brainstorming morning to all our respected dignitaries, keynote speaker, delegates, and one and all present here. Warmth of your august presence has filled our heart with gratitude. I, CA Dr. Sneha Master, feel honored and privileged to get an opportunity to propose vote of thanks. An event like this cannot happen overnight. The wheels are set in motion much before the actual event. The event is a product of hard work and inputs of various stakeholders. The enormous efforts and constant support of a true visionary academician is backbone of this gala event. And that too in a year where we again entered in a new wave of pandemic. Sudhir sir, it was just impossible to organize such big colloquium without your support. A big thank you to the luminary person, Dr. Sudhir Nanavati, President, GLS University, the energetic driving force of GLS. SMPIC is highly obliged for the support you extend to us. Once again, thank you, sir, for always motivating us for higher goals. I would like to express our sincere regards to CA Aniket Talati, sir, Central Council member ICAI. Sir, thank you so much for sparing your valuable time out of your busy schedule. Your words and thoughts will be remembered by everyone. I must mention our deep sense of appreciation for Dr. Chandni Kapadia, Executive Director, GLS University, for being always with us in this international colloquium. With your guidance every time, we, Faculty of Commerce, climb a step ahead on the ladder of success. Thank you so much, ma'am. I extend very hearty vote of thanks to today's keynote speaker, CA Khushru Panthaki, for sharing his expert knowledge. I must thank CA Jatin Kalra, sir, for gracing the occasion. I sincerely thank CA Harit Dhariwal, Chairman Ahmedabad Branch, and CA Dr. Anjali Choksi, Secretary Ahmedabad Branch, for their association with GLS in jointly organizing this gala event. I thank all delegates and various faculty members and students who have participated in huge number across the world. Your participation has given remarkable recognition to our 2 days virtual international colloquium. I thank all faculty members, non-teaching staff, and our pillars, our helpers, Sevak Bhaiyo and Behno, for their enormous efforts towards the journey of seed to success of this colloquium. Thank you all for joining our event. Wish you all a very happy, prosperous, and pandemic-free 2022. Thank you, everyone. Now, soon we'll be starting with a virtual technical session. Over to you, Bimal Bhai. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for joining for the virtual beginning. And now, very shortly, we shall be starting with the technical sessions. So see you all in the technical sessions. Thank you.